New Vitamin Water Zero Sugar Pineapple Passion Fruit is packed with vitamins, just like the amount of peas we packed in that sentence. It's packed like your tote bag, the one you stole from your ex, or your overpriced half a studio apartment, or extra rushed rush hour traffic. Packed like your calendar, triple booked at 5, of course. Grab a Vitamin Water. Did we mention it's packed with vitamins?
Welcome back to Fine Tooning with Drew Taylor, your one-stop shop when it comes to animation news and commentary. I am entertainment writer Jim Hill, and Mr. Taylor, whose writings in the industry you can regularly read over on The Wrap, and whose musings on the Mission Impossible movies you can still listen to on Light the Fuse, the official Mission Impossible podcast. Drew and I are recording this week's show on Sunday, September 14th. So, and I think you were just mentioning the Emmys are tonight, right?
The Emmys are tonight. I wanted to start off with a connection to your show with Glenn about Pixar being purchased by Disney. Mm-hmm. And you left out a crucial bit, Jim, of theme park lore.
Okay.
Which is that, Bob Iger is at the opening of Hong Kong Disneyland in 2005. He sees the floats go by. He sees that the only new characters that the fans and the guests are connecting with are Pixar movies from the past 10 years. That there are no Disney movies, really, in the last few years that really resonate with the guests the way that the Pixar movies do. And that was supposedly the impetus for him making the deal.
I do recall that story. And
yes, I think that's in his biography or memoir, I think.
I want to say yes. And thank you for reminding us of that. Speaking of which, we have some Pixar-related news in this week's show. In fact, quite a bit of animation news this week, which is, I have to say, kind of surprising for mid-September, given that the kids are back in school, but, we'll take it. And we'll get to all that in a moment. But first, before we do that, a word on this podcast sponsor, which is unlockmagic.com, where you can get real discounts on Walt Disney World and Universal Orlando tickets, sometimes upwards of 12% off. By the way, UnlockMagic.com is run by the exact same team behind the DVC rental store and the DVC resale market. So just pick your dates, grab your tickets for, all right, I'm not going to lie. If you're looking to get tickets to after-hour events like Mickey's Not So Scary or Halloween Horror Night, that ship may have sailed, folks.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
oh, no.
Yeah, I'm hearing they're selling very, very well. But on the other hand, there is still Mickey's Very Merry and Jollywood Nights, so a bunch of those have sold out as well, so don't dawdle, folks, okay? Anyway, again, that's Unlock Magic. Get your tickets there, and then tell them that Jim and Drew sent you. All right, so, Drew, just to get started here, all summer long, we have been talking about K-pop Demon Hunters and how it's been breaking all sorts of records at Netflix. People just cannot seem to get enough of this animated feature. So understanding that, is it really all that big a surprise that on the heels of that pop culture phenomenon, that when another animated feature with the word demon in its title comes along, though, just to be clear here, this time around we're talking about a demon slayer as opposed to a demon hunter. But anyway, it's out in North American theaters. It does record-breaking business. I mean, what's your interpretation of what's gone on this weekend?
Well, as far as I understand, because I've never watched the show, but I believe that this is the beginning of a trilogy of movies that serves as kind of the end of the series. Is that your understanding of it, Jim?
I've been trying to get my arms around this, but let's be honest here. Did anybody think this was going to make $70 million? I mean, that's the best ever opening for an anime film in North America, and also it's Sony Pictures Entertainment best opening for all of 2025. Was that
wow?
Was that
that's amazing?
It is. And look, not to belabor the point here, but I can't help but see the parallel. Do you remember when James Cameron's Avatar opened, I want to say December of 2009, and then and made over $2 billion dollars worldwide. And then Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland, which was the first film in 3D after Avatar to arrive in theaters. That then went on to make $1 billion. Do you think this is kind of a parallel, or is this again just because this is?
I love that this is just based on the word demon.
There we go.
Jim thinks that the word demon is so hot. It's so hot. No, I don't know. I mean, I don't know the anime. Mm-hmm. I don't know the anime, Jim. We could be like completely oblivious to a huge fandom, which I think we are to some degree.
I've accepted that. I am terrible at my job when it comes to animation news. But that's it. Some interesting stats that Deadline shared about this Crunchyroll release, that 67% of the people who went to see Demon Slayer Kimetsu ya ba Infinity Castle bought their tickets in advance. Only 33% of people who wanted to see this animated feature during its domestic run walked up to the theater and bought their tickets day of. So that does plug in neatly with what you mentioned earlier about, the first of 3 films, hugely popular anime series. So, people were obviously fans of the show, were primed to go see this. Also kind of interesting, 55% of the folks who, again, went to go see Demon Slayer in North American theaters, they opted to go with the subtitled version rather than the English dub, which also doesn't fit the usual pattern. So, yeah.
Although the Niza 2 dub did not do very well.
I saw that. Again, kind of counterintuitive, but at the same time, it might also have just been a case of, the ship has sailed. I mean, yes, it's lovely that, face it, everybody was excited about Niza 2 back in February when its gross was blotting out the sun. And, to finally have it stateside in a dub version in August, heat's kind of gone. But anyway, getting back to the North American box office, next 3 slots after Demon Slayer, we had The Conjuring: Last Rites that pulled in $26 million. Downton Abbey, the grand finale, that's $18.1 million. Stephen King's The Long Walk, that's $11.5 million. And the number 5 in the number 5 slot was the 30th anniversary edition of Toy Story. Only sold 3.5 million worth of tickets in all of North America. I have to assume that Disney and Pixar were kind of hoping that the re-release of the original Toy Story would do a little better at the North American box office. But at the same time, I mean, literally just this past Monday, over on Freeform, this film ran as part of a Toy Story movie marathon, Toy Story 1, 2, 3, 4.
There's also, Jim, for the people online, mm-hmm. there is a Disney Plus channel that is just Toy Story stuff.
There we go.
So all the movies, all the shorts, all the specials. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So yeah, they're and as you know, Jim, the consumer products program for the 30th anniversary mm-hmm. is ramping up this month, and then it will run until next year when the merchandising program for Toy Story 5 starts. So
happy that you brought that up, which I'll get to in a second. But speaking of the 30th anniversary re-release to theaters, did get confirmed that the poster that both Drew and I really like for this re-release was done by Tom Whalen, and I'm still trying to figure out how to get my hands on a copy.
Oh, somebody said that, I think at like one of the theater chains, somebody messaged me on Instagram mm-hmm. that you can actually get it through some kind of merchandise package. So I will send that along to you, Jim.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, now, speaking of Toy Story and its sequels, and again, I apologize. I'm getting increasingly bad at this job, Drew, because we should have mentioned this on last week's Fine Tooning, but folks who went to this year's Destination D, which was held August 29th through the 31st at Disney's Coronado Springs Resort, and again, I apologize. I think earlier I mentioned that it was held at the convention center at the Contemporary Resort, and that was wrong. But anyway, folks who went to this year's Destination D got to see the first 5 minutes of Toy Story 5, which again is arriving in theaters in June 19th, 2026. And have you heard anything about this footage, Drew? Or
Jim, we talked about this footage because they showed it at Annecy, and I saw it, and we discussed it.
Okay, so
yes.
No, it's
go back. We'll go in your back. It's a really cool scene. It's a bunch of Buzz Lightyears that have washed ashore on a deserted island and are kind of trying to figure out how to get off. And they are these new Buzz Lightyears that are equipped with like Wi-Fi, so they're communicating with each other. It's a very charming scene. It was not finished animation-wise, but it was very cool. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Yeah.
But this is the one where they're like star, command, just talking with one another, right?
Yes, they are. They kind of build a raft out of themselves, and that's the last thing you see is them kind of taking off from the island to parts unknown.
Okay.
So I assume that the kind of main narrative will be juxtaposed with the story of these Buzz Lightyears as they make their journey.
Yeah. Now, speaking again of Toy Story 5 and consumer products, late last week, in fact, September 10th, the Walt Disney Company held its Greater China Consumer Products Showcase in Shanghai. And we got all sorts of interesting little tidbits out of that. And as Drew just mentioned, the 30th anniversary collection of Toy Story items there's no other way to put it. It's designed to prime the pump, so to speak, for Toy Story 5 to get people excited and in the mood to buy, again, this next generation Buzz Lightyear with Wi-Fi. But they also talked at length about the other films that are just over the horizon. And I want to say on last week's show, we talked about Hexed. This is Disney's animated feature for November of 2026. Likewise, evidently, Disney's consumer products folks getting the buyers in Hong Kong and Taiwan and the mainland excited about the stuff that's coming in 2027, which, of course, we have Gato, that's Pixar's, new animated film for the summer of 2007, and then Frozen 3. Which had they officially announced that's coming for November of 2027 yet?
I don't know if they'd officially. I mean, I think we'd sort of suspected it. But yeah, I don't know if they'd actually announced it already. They just, I think that's a foregone conclusion at this point. But you know me, Jim, I'm just ready for all the Hoppers merchandise next year. I just need a lot of beavers and lizards and everything. Yeah.
Okay, the way too much plush. Well, getting back to Frozen 3, the interesting bit of news is we finally have some story points. Evidently, this third film in the Frozen series kicks off with Anna and Kristoff's wedding. So now, beyond that, evidently also shared at the Greater China Consumer Products thing, Incredibles 3 is supposedly coming summer of 2028. Coco 2... Drew, you and I have talked about this previously, how it was announced for 2029 and then they kind of walked that back.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah. It was on the official social accounts. I don't know what happened.
Well, actually, what's interesting is the news that kind of explained this came out of China, and that as of right now, yes, 2029, but they don't necessarily have a locked-in release date. And evidently that's because the original Coco was released to theaters back in November of 2017, went on to make $814 million worldwide, and then take home 2 Academy Awards, one for Best Animated Feature and the other one for Best Song. And evidently there's a certain amount of indecision going on right now between Disney and Pixar about when would Coco 2 do best at the box office. That, do they put this out into theaters for summer blockbuster season, or given that this is a like the first Coco film, a celebration of family, and putting it out there for Thanksgiving time, they could tap into that. So also worth noting, lots of talk at this event about the live action version of Lilo and Stitch 2. No talk of a release date. But the folks who were attending this conference were told that this project is absolutely a top priority at Disney. That said, very unlikely that it would arrive in theaters by June of 2027, which is when, of course, we're supposed to get Universal Pictures' How to Train Your Dragon 2. And speaking of Universal, just a reminder, folks, that Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie, is due to be released domestically later this month on September 26th. And again, very same weekend that Wild Robot was released in North American theaters last year, and that Chris Sanders film went on to sell 35.8 million worth of tickets over its opening weekend. So it's no Demon Slayer, but it did well. Now, from what I've been hearing from friends at DreamWorks, the current thinking is that Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie, will not do Wild Robot size business. There's an expectation that the theatrical release of this this movie version of this interactive animated television series, that it will do better than, do you remember when Spirited Untamed, which is also based on a DreamWorks television animated series, when that went out in the theaters of June of 2021, Drew?
I do remember. I mean, yeah. But that was also still pretty peak COVID times.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
So that one only sold $6.4 million worth of tickets over its opening, but as Drew mentioned, just pandemic effectively hobbled that. What was kind of interesting is my friend at DreamWorks I was talking with about this is, supposedly the marketing team at Universal is looking for a way to slip either the word K-pop or Demon Hunter into Gabby's Dollhouse, the title. But the thing is, it's a little late to try to do something like that. But anyway, we have more animation news in a moment. But first, this.
Tonight, turn down the noise of the day and focus on the rest with AGZ, the nightly drink for winding down and resting up. New from AG1. AGZ supports your body's natural sleep cycle with clinically studied key herbs, adaptogens, and minerals in amounts supported by research. And no melatonin, helping you wake feeling rested. Wind down, rest up with AGZ. Learn more at drinkagz.com.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there is one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
And we're back. Okay, so folks, Drew and I were just talking about Universal Pictures and their upcoming release schedule for animated features. And 7 months after Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie, we get the sequel to the Super Mario Brothers movie, which originally opened April of 2023 and then went on to do, dear Lord, 1.36 billion worldwide. So we got to see the teaser of this, Drew, and what did you think of the teaser?
Yeah, they announced this during a Nintendo Direct on Friday, and Chris Meledandri was part of this Direct, and he introduced the teaser. He had a little Bowser on a piano behind him in his desk. I loved that element. And yeah, I think the name of the movie is the Super Mario Galaxy movie, and the teaser was Mario in the Mushroom Kingdom, and a butterfly flies up, it flies past the castle, and then the camera goes and goes and goes, and then we're in outer space. So that is I think it was very funny that the title of the movie leaked on like a can of like deodorant the night before online. Did you see that, Jim?
I mean, that's the thing. When you do, I mean, face it, you think 7 months lead time now between when this film actually opens in theaters on, by the way, that's April 3rd, 2026. But the reality is, with as many tie-in deals as films like this have, all of this stuff, the art has been approved and labels have been printed, and it will bubble up in the weirdest goddamn places. So well,
it also just shows you that next year is going to be absolutely insane for animated movies. I mean, every week, Jim, is going to be a blockbuster story, I tell you, because it's going to be full next year.
Can't wait. Now, pivoting away from animation-related stuff that's happening 7 weeks from now to, well, something that happens just days from now. And I think Drew actually mentioned this on last week's show, but Pixar's Elio will begin streaming over on Disney Plus later this week, to be specific, Wednesday, September 17th. And by the way, Drew, per your instructions, I actually got my physical copy of this Pixar animation film. And in fact, it arrived at the house on Thursday, and it's now unwrapped. It hasn't been watched. Again, I'm really terrible at this job lately.
We're inching closer.
There we go.
Closer.
I mean, it's I have proximity now. And more to the point, it will be streaming by Wednesday. And by the way, something else that I should have mentioned far earlier. The second half of season 2 of Wednesday debuted over on Netflix back on September 3rd. First half dropped on that streaming service back in August, on August 6th to be exact. And I'm honestly kind of ashamed that I'm only just now mentioning that 90 seconds of stop motion animation that was on the season premiere of Wednesday season 2. Did you see this stuff at all?
I saw the animation. I haven't seen the season yet. Okay. But yeah, it looked very cool.
It did. And now, mind you, it took 8 months to produce, and it was done by McKinnon and Saunders. That's, by the way, the very same company that worked with Burton on his 2005 stop-motion film, The Corpse Bride.
And Frankenweenie.
Yes. Also, that stop-motion film, Corpse Bride, originally released to theaters by Warner Brothers, celebrates its 20th anniversary of its theatrical release later this month, in fact, September 23rd. And weird little bend on the Corpse Bride story. Laika, back when it was still known as Will Vinton Studios, had you heard about this? That they were supposedly involved in the early development of this stop-motion film, but when Phil Knight bought Will Vinton Studios in 2003, Burton then took The Corpse Bride to McKinnon and Saunders and had them make the film. Do you have any insights there about what happened?
I remember that they had some connection to it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if those stories will come out and for the 20th anniversary, but Jim, they are putting out a new 4K disc on the 23rd for the anniversary. So
very cool.
Another physical media.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Another thing to order off of Amazon. And speaking of ooky spooky stop motion movies, Laika's ParaNorman, which by the way I personally love since first released back in August of 2012, is returning to theaters next month with remastered 3D. That Sam Fell and Chris Butler movie debuts stateside on October 25th for 1 week only. Better yet, this limited time theatrical release will be accompanied by a brand new animated short set in the world of ParaNorman. This is entitled ParaNorman: The Thrifting.
Yes, and it's a computer generated short.
Is it?
It is
really?
not. Yeah, it's not produced by Leica, but they oversaw it.
Okay.
And I think if you saw Coraline last year, you got a little taste of Wildwood, and from what I understand, there will be something similar should you go see ParaNorman. So if you needed any more reason to go see ParaNorman, the chance of seeing some more Wildwood footage should do it.
All right,
yeah.
I'm there.
Besides the short too, which I'm dying to see, and also ParaNorman just being the best. So yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, so ParaNorman: The Thrifting, I want to say on Friday, a poster got dropped for this thing, which looks great. We don't have a runtime yet on the short. We do know that Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things and Anna Kendrick, in fact, she did voice work for the original.
Yeah, she plays Norman's sister.
There we go.
So
There
she'll
we go.
be back. Yeah.
Okay. All right. But interesting thing, in this exact same window of time, Sony Pictures Entertainment, again, working with the folks at Crunchyroll, who, again, are on a roll right now, thanks to Demon Slayer, Kimetsu Yaiba, Infinity Castle, and again, $70 million, worth of tickets this past week in North America. Anyway, Crunchyroll has another animated film that it's distributing domestically next month. This one, Chainsaw Man, the movie, Reze Arc. It's based on Tezuki Fujimoto's popular manga series. More to the point, this full-length animated film is supposed to be a direct sequel to the Chainsaw anime television series. And, we're kind of back to what Drew was saying at the top of the show. And by the way, if you want to catch up on Chainsaw Man, the anime series, out ahead of going to see Reze Arc, the whole of season 1 of Chainsaw Man is currently available to be streamed over on Hulu. And another weird little bend on the Chainsaw Man movie Reze Arc story. Crunchyroll and Sony Pictures Entertainment were originally planning on sending this anime film out into theaters on Wednesday, October 29th. But just last week, Reze Arc's North American release date got moved to Friday, October 24th. Have you heard anything about that, Drew? Is that...
No. No. I mean, usually these kind of more niche releases aren't really competing with the same theaters as whatever big blockbuster is in theaters that weekend. So
Okay.
I don't know why that happened, but if I hear anything, Jim, I will bring it up on next week's show.
Cool. All right. And speaking of anime and Hulu, Cat's Eye, which was a beloved anime, considered a classic back in the 1980s, is getting a reboot on that streaming service. A new 12-part series, which is a new adaptation of Tsukasa Hojo's best-selling manga. That premieres on Hulu later this month, Tuesday, September 26th. To be exact. And evidently the lead characters are cafe owners by day, art thieves by night, which again, think about it, they drink a lot of caffeine during the day, they're lying awake at night.
That's true.
So it's like,
that's true.
Let's use this time productively. Let's go steal priceless masterpieces. And speaking of priceless, I have to ask you folks, what would you pay to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery? And Drew and I will talk about that in a moment and what this potentially means to both Warner Brothers Animation and Paramount Animation. But first, this.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, Is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to
Only Murders in the Building,
the official podcast.
Join me, Michael Cyril Creighton, as we go behind the scenes with some of the amazing actors, writers, and crew from season 5.
The audience should never stop suspecting anything.
How can you not be funny crawling around on a coffin?
No, that's true.
Catch Only Murders in the Building official podcast, now streaming wherever you get your podcasts. And watch Only Murders in the Building, streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus for bundle subscribers. Terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by FXX and Hulu. Futurama returns on September 15th, blending heartfelt moments with razor-sharp humor while accidentally saving the day. The Planet Express crew is back, defying gravity and common sense. From the creator of The Simpsons comes 10 new episodes where the romance is hotter, the threats are bigger, and the action hits harder. Don't miss the all-new season of Futurama returning September 15th at 8 p.m. Watch it on FXX or stream it on Hulu.
And we're back. All right, so just to remind folks, Drew, it was like 5 weeks ago that Skydance acquired Paramount Global for like $8 billion. And this was all that Hollywood could talk about, and for various reasons. But just this past Friday, we learned that, well, that now run by David Ellison company, which, by the way, can you share what the new name out west that people are calling this merged company by? Or
oh yeah, but they're calling it ParaSky. Mm-hmm. It's very interesting because I was on the lot the week that the merger officially went through, and there were already a ton of flags up that said Paramount, a Skydance corporation. And while I was on the lot, I saw them repainting the water tower. So where these flags must have been sitting for the 18 months that they were trying to get regulatory approval on this thing. And yeah, so yeah. It's interesting. They're moving fast, Jim. They are moving fast.
Speaking of moving fast, that this is what kind of took people by shock this past Friday when they learned that, David Ellison is supposedly prepping, as I explained it, it's a majority cash bid for all of Warner Brother Discovery's assets. And
yeah, so let's pause and talk about the all, because they are in the process of trying to split up.
There we go.
Warner Brothers into, so the current company is Warner Brothers Discovery. They are going to split the Warner Brothers Studios assets and the HBO assets into one company and the Discovery assets into another company, including, I believe, linear channels as well. And this is going on all over town. You know, the spin-off packages of assets are being prepped at Universal and other places. So the Paramount bid is for everything, which is super interesting.
Yeah. By the way, there is a number making the rounds. You care to share what the estimated? I haven't heard the number, so why don't you tell me what the number is? The interesting thing is some folks are saying 65, which isn't that what Disney wound up paying for all of the...
They wound up paying 71
okay.
for the 21st Century Fox assets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is the other number here is 70 billion, okay. But let's talk about why now. With the notion of, this is something that David Zaslav has already talked about, what he wants to do with Warner's to get it ready for the future. And, as you mentioned, very common what he's planning on doing with Warner's. But why now? Why go after all of this?
Was it coincidence that it happened the same week that Ellison's father was named the #1 wealthiest person on planet Earth? Is that a coincidence, Jim, or do we see that as a little bit of let's see what we can do with these billions and billions of dollars?
And by the way, he was only the richest for like 5 minutes till Musk reclaimed it, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure he did.
Sure he did. All right. So
Sure
as it's been explained to me, the obvious benefit of merging, ParaSky and Warner Brothers Discovery is right off the bat you get a huge content library, which in theory would give this giant super deluxe media conglomerate the edge when it came to streaming. The other thing I've heard is that given the efforts that are already underway at Paramount about, staff reductions and looking for efficiencies and that sort of thing, that, if they just continued this effort after they acquired Warner Brothers Discovery, they would now be this super sleek, hyper efficient media company. Do you buy any of that?
I mean, we saw another Paramount related thing we saw this week or in the last couple of weeks was a demand for 5 days in office.
Yes. Yeah.
Which many are seeing as a way of reducing headcount because, obviously during the pandemic, people kind of spread out and went different places. So if they are demanding 5 days in the office and people can't do it, they're automatically getting fired or laid off or whatever you want to say. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of maneuvering going on with this. I actually wonder if the companies combine, if they won't try to get back some of the assets. You and I have talked about endlessly, Jim, the fact that Looney Tunes are not even on HBO Max right now. Like, I wonder if they will try to reclaim some of these things that Zaslav was maybe a little bit cavalier with, including the Looney Tunes property and some other things. So
all true. True.
It would just be terrible. It would be terrible. It would be absolutely terrible if they got together. But yeah.
Well, now what's kind of interesting is, as Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, believes that as well, Drew, that, she's already voiced her opposition for this proposed acquisition, to the effect of, it's just too much power in the hands of one media company. And let's be honest here, just watching what has happened over the last 18 months, what it took to finally get Paramount and the Paramount and Skydance acquisition done. This would not be easy to do from a regulatory point of view, and I think this being basically the same size and scale of what Disney did with Fox, I mean, that was at least 18 months to almost 2 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a long time. Although Ellison is buddies with Trump, so I wonder if the hurdles actually are not that hard to clear for this, should it go forward.
Okay. Well, and what fascinates me is that this would have been last year, actually. I had heard through friends that Comcast, of all people, was actually sort of kicking the tires about, a Warner Brothers Discovery acquisition. And what kind of powered this is that if you look at where the Universal and Warner Brothers lots are in Burbank, at Universal City adjacent areas, that at some points the only thing that separates them is the Los Angeles River, that flood control channel, and that...
Yes, correct. Yeah.
And that were there to be a merger of those two companies, I mean, just the combined real estate, the opportunities for development were extraordinary. But by the way, speaking of flood control and water, Flow, the film that won this year's Best Animated Feature, is making its Criterion Collection debut later this month on September 23rd. And Drew, as we repeatedly mentioned on the show, huge supporter of physical media, is now going to tell you why you absolutely positively have to buy a copy of this particular Criterion Collection version of this Glintz Zedelbaldus film. I mangled it.
That's right.
Okay.
I've got it. You see on your screen, Jim. There it is. There's the cover.
Okay.
There's the cats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just got it this week, so I said, we should probably talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Coming out the 22nd. Mm-hmm. And what's great about this, Jim, and why everyone should pick it up, is it actually has Gintz's previous film, Away.
Oh.
That has also been remastered in 4K. Mm-hmm. It's got the full-length animatic version of Flow, Jim. We love our animatics. Oh. So to see the whole movie in animatic format, it's got a new commentary with Gintz. Mm-hmm. It's got new interviews. It's got a making-of documentary called Dream Cat that was produced by Latvian Television.
Okay.
2 short films by him, Aqua and Priorities, with commentaries. An unused shot reel that features new commentary by Gintz, all sorts of promotional materials, including trailers, TV spots, and proof of concept, teasers, and, Jim, collectible stickers.
Okay.
So you can put the cat on something you love.
Right, so we can put stickers on the cat.
Yeah, this is one of the only animated movies in the Criterion Collection. So,
really?
You got to support that.
Okay.
And, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. We had WALL-E, we had Watership Down, we had, what else? Fantastic Planets. Mm-hmm. But, the animated films in the Criterion Collection are few and far between. So support Criterion, support physical media, support Flow, and get this amazing disc when it comes out on the 22nd.
And remember, folks, if you've forgotten what made Flow especially special this award season, again, produced in Latvia, and for a total of like $4 million. I mean, this ridiculously low price point, and this just flat out beautiful film. So, all right,
it's charming. Your pets will watch it with you. I mean, what else do you want?
There we go. Okay, back to Perisky for a sec. Star Trek Day was just last week. In fact, September 8th, and that, by the way, that's Star Trek Day in honor of when the original Star Trek series originally debuted on NBC. That was September 8th, 1966.
How much of a Trekkie are you, Jim?
I actually watched the original series in real time.
Really?
Seriously. In fact, I remember my father we had just gotten our first color television at the house. So my brother Bob and I inherited the family's old black and white, which we put, in our bedroom. We were allowed to stay up on, I want to say it was Friday night at 10 when this thing aired. And you'll love this, Drew, that my brother Bob was so proud that we got, we had a television in our room that he wanted to make sure the screen was as clean as possible. So he reached under the kitchen sink and brought up what he thought was glass cleaner, but was oven cleaner, which proceeded to melt half of the screen on the television in our bedroom. So, we saw most of Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner, but, there was a part of it that was kind of smudgy. But anyway, back to Star Trek, and there has been some Star Trek animation. There was, of course, the Saturday morning show done by Filmation that aired 73, 74, 22 episodes, and some people will tell you, well, that completed the 5-year mission. On the other hand, there was Star Trek Lower Decks, which aired on CBS All Access, ran from August 21st through December of this past year, and which was wonderful. I wish that had kept going, but now, borrowing a page from the Disney playbook, especially the Disney Cradle to Grave playbook, we now get Star Trek Scouts, and this comes from Nickelodeon's digital studio in association with CBS Studio. Do you want to tell the nice folks about what Star Trek Scouts is?
Well, I watched a little bit of it because the first episode is out. It's on YouTube.
There we go.
We should say that. It's not on a network. It's on YouTube. And it seems to be little kids in a spaceship kind of thing.
There we go.
But they're not. There's not any correlation to other characters, are there? They're just sort of Starfleet babies or something?
Okay. They are 3 8-year-old friends, JR, Sprocket, and Rue, who are training to be future Starfleet explorers. But this is, as Drew mentioned, short form show, 3 or 4 minutes long each. Mind you, there'll be a full rollout of the show next year. There'll be 20 episodes, but this is very, very much in the vein of Disney's Star Wars Young Jedi Adventures, Spidey and his amazing friends, and more recently, Iron Man and his awesome friends. On the other hand, exact opposite direction, chasing a very different audience, is Alley Cats, the Ricky Gervais new project for Netflix. This is an animated series for adults, which, according to its logline, is supposed to be about this group of feral British cats who seek companionship while ruminating on the struggles of everyday life. And vocal cast, Drew is, of course, Mr. Gervais, and along with a host of top British comedians, among them Diane Morgan, Tom Basden, and Kerry Godliman. But I have to admit, I love how Ricky described the cat that he will be voicing in the show. It's like, I play a fat, lazy, rude, opinionated creature with fangs who's not nearly as smart or brave as he thinks he is. So, quite a stretch, really. And speaking of things in the UK, the Alton Towers Resort just announced that in the spring of next year, 2026, the historic theme park associated with that resort will be debuting the world's first Bluey coaster, which is going to be built in the general vicinity of, they already have at Alton Towers a Healer family meet and greet, not to mention a Bluey live show. And a friend shared this with me because we've been talking about, why don't we see the Bluey, characters? Disney made such a big deal about, we're cutting this deal with the BBC and we're making a movie and they're coming to the parks, and where are they? And it's just, and evidently, where the Bluey characters are right now, at least as far as Disney is concerned, is in their legal department. Evidently, Disney has spent the past 6 months going over every single Bluey rights contract, because evidently, prior to the Disney deal, lots and lots and lots of contracts were signed. In fact, somebody was making the comparison to, this is kind of like what happened when Disney acquired Marvel in 2009, and it took forever for Disney to actually get the rights back for the toys and that sort of thing. That, they're just now figuring out what they have and what they can do with it. So, but again, they're hugely popular characters, and they will eventually be showing up in the Disney parks. And speaking of hugely popular, the Mission Impossible movies have to date made $4.74 billion worldwide, and that is quite a haul. And if you want to learn more about how these 8 films were made, there are nearly 300 episodes of Light the Fuse, the official Mission Impossible podcast. And when these were in production, Drew and his co-host, Charles Hood, regularly interviewed all sorts of Hollywood greats and got them to tell all sorts of amazing behind-the-scenes stories, which is why I listen to this podcast in the car all the time, and I always learn something when I've got Light the Fuse on. Now, mind you, you could do the same thing with the podcast we have at Jim Hill Media. We have, of course, Disney Dish with Len Testa. We have the Epic Universal podcast that I do with Eric Hersey, who produces a lot of the shows here. Likewise, there's I Want That Too, the Disney Merch podcast I do with Eric's lovely bride, Lauren. Also want to remind you about Manufacturing the Magic. That's the themed entertainment history podcast we host here. That's produced by Noah and Shelley Valladolid. Brand new episode of that just went up last weekend, which talks about the Pleasure Island theme park that was built outside of Boston. Which, by the way, Drew, did I ever tell you the story about that park? That the icon for the park was
this the one that burned down?
Oh,
is this the one that burned down?
Yes, slowly.
Okay. Okay. I growing up in Connecticut, I heard stories about it. Yeah, but no. Tell me, what is your story, Jim?
The icon of the park was this 70-foot-long mechanical Moby Dick that would rise up out of a waterway at the park. And when the park closed in 1968, 69, there were all these photos of, in the off season, how they'd haul this steel and fiberglass thing out of the pond. And it just, in the rush to close the park and that sort of thing, there was this did we ever take Moby Dick out of the pond? And nobody could get a straight answer. And meanwhile, around, in fact, the most valuable thing ultimately about Pleasure Island was the parking lot. And they built a business technology park right there at the edge of the parking lot and built it around the pond. And I actually got to talk with the manager of the technology park at one point, because the Massachusetts State Police dive team actually wanted to go into the pond and prove once and for all whether or not Moby Dick was down there. And the manager of the park was absolutely not. You cannot do this. All I need is some state policeman to get tangled up on an old cable and drowned. And it's no, you can't do it. But evidently just last year, there was this enterprising kid who took, I guess, his bar mitzvah money and, bought an underwater drone and put it in the pond. And evidently the peat moss and that sort of thing, was just too thick. He couldn't get it to where he needed it to go. So, he then taps into his college fund and gets a $1,500 underwater drone. And sure enough, Moby Dick is still down there.
Wow.
All 70 feet of him. And again, he's out of fiberglass and steel. He's still down there. He's surrounded by, what is it? Since 68, 60 years of leaves and gunk. But no, I love that story. Anyway, speaking of stories, we're going to be telling some over on Disney Unpacked. We've just posted our show about the Main Street Opera House. Mr. Schul and I, veteran imaginator Jim Schul, he and I are working on a show right now about Epcot's corporate lounges. And, before I forget, we've gotten some very nice comments from folks about the Case 4 with Chris Cox, the new show that Len and I are doing with magician and mind reader Chris Cox. And let's see, as we run for the curtain here, want to thank Eric Hersey and David Gray for the great job they do when it comes to editing and producing this podcast. Also want to ask a favor of you folks, if you could head over to Apple Podcasts and rate and review not just this show, but also Light the Fuse. And Drew, as we head out the door here, are we leading any panels or doing any signings or anything that folks need to be aware of?
The Grill, which is a kind of industry conference that the Wrap holds every year. Mm-hmm. It's coming back at the end of the month. Mm-hmm. And I am actually doing a long conversation with none other than Jerry Bruckheimer, who, as you know, Jim, has had a number of projects with Disney. Mm-hmm. We're going to get into all of it. Tickets are available to that should you want to come by and say hello. And I'm looking forward to it. I love Jerry. I've talked to him many times over the years, so I'm really excited to get this opportunity. So yeah,
cool.
Come on down.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, see. So people can have more information about that. They should probably be aware of where you are on social media.
That's right.
Can you tell the nice folks about that?
Sure. It's Drew Tailored, like a tailored shirt, on Instagram and X mostly. And if you want to find out about the grill, just go to thewrap.com. And what about you, Jim? Where can people find you?
I am on X, then Instagram is Jim Hill Media, and then over on Facebook is Jim Hill Media News. And with that, folks, we're wrapping this week's edition of Fine Tooning. So on behalf of Mr. Taylor, thanks again for listening, and we will be back soon.